Christmas held so much magic for me. And truly, it still does. It's just in a different way. The story goes that as a kid, my father never really had a Christmas. His stepfather was rather strict and thought it frivolous to spend money on such things as Christmas. So when he married my mother, the first experience of a family Christmas was with my grandparents. Making Christmas good for us kids became very important to him. The Christmas tree would be delivered by Santa. Yep, the tree would arrive Christmas morning, all decorated with the gifts underneath it. Christmas morning, we were allowed to take one toy from the stocking. Wow, this thing's pretty fast. And then we had to get dressed to go to Christmas morning service, come home and have a big breakfast, and it wasn't until all the dishes were done that we were allowed to open the gifts. And we were definitely not allowed to shake them. Well, life goes on, and kids get older and traditions change. Eventually, Santa decided he could not afford the time to bring us our tree already decorated, and so we got to buy the tree and decorate it ourselves, which was always fun. First, we had to get the tree straight, which consisted of my mother directing my dad, and my dad, ever so patient. It wasn't until about the third or fourth round of left, right, front, center that he finally decided it was straight enough. Then Dad had to fight with the lights. You know, those old big bulb lights, one goes out, they all go out. They're all lit, you get them on the tree and they all go out as soon as you plug them in again. That was a constant battle that he would never win. And Mother cherished her memories of her ornaments. And so almost every ornament had a story. And that story had to be shared. So it was a full day of decorating just the tree. And after the angel was placed neatly on the top of the tree, we would carefully unwrap the tissue around the nativity set. Nothing as extravagant as that one, needless to say. But we had a beautiful little creche, and it had shepherds and sheep, and I think there was a cow for some reason, and a donkey. And of course there was Mary and Joseph, and an angel hung right above the pinnacle. The three kings were set off in the distance because they didn't arrive technically until Epiphany. And during the 40 days of Lent, we would place a piece of straw in the manger. So Jesus would be laid in the straw on Christmas Eve. And the creche had a music box attached to it. Once a while, we would play Silent Night. Often in the evening, I would get under the tree and look up from below and play Silent Night. And once in a while, I would fall asleep just listening to the music box play. The Silent Night story is one of my favorite Christmas stories. Not far from where I grew up is the Silent Night Chapel, which is that photograph in your bulletin. It's an exact copy of the chapel that stands in the town of Oberdorf, where Silent Night was written. In 1818, a roving band of actors was performing in towns throughout the Austrian Alps. And on December 23rd, they arrived in Oberdorf, a village near Salzburg, where they were to reenact the story of Christ's birth in the small church of St. Nicholas. Unfortunately, the St. Nicholas church organ wasn't working and would not be repaired before Christmas. Some versions of the story point to mice as the problem, and others say rust was the culprit. A church mouse is a little bit more romantic. Because the church organ was out of commission, the actors presented their Christmas drama in a private home. That Christmas presentation of the events in the first chapters of Matthew and Luke put the assistant pastor, Joseph Moore, in a meditative mood. And so instead of walking straight to his house that night, he took a longer way home. And the longer path took him up over a hill where he could see the whole village below. And from that hilltop, as he looked down on the peaceful, snow-covered village, reveling in majestic silence of a wintry night, he gazed down at the glowing Christmas card I'd seen, and he thought about a Christmas play, and he remembered a poem that he had written a few years before. That poem was about the night when the angels announced the birth of the long-awaited Messiah to shepherds on the hillside. He decided those words might make a good carol for the congregation the following evening at Christmas, but he had no music to put it to. So the next day, he went to see the church organist, Franz Xavier Gruber. And Gruber only had a few hours to come up with a melody that could be sung with a guitar. However, by that evening, he had managed to compose a musical setting for the poem. And it no longer mattered to Gruber that the church organ was inoperable. They had a new carol, a Christmas carol, just to be sung on that Christmas Eve, just for their congregation. The little Oberdorf congregation heard Gruber and Morris sing their new composition, accompanied by guitar. Weeks later, a well-known organ builder arrived there to fix the organ, and he stepped back to test the instrument. When Gruber sat down, his fingers began playing the simple melody that he had written for that poem. Deeply impressed, Moracker took the copies of the music and the words of Silent Night back to his own Alpine village, Kapfing. There, two well-known families of singers, the Rainiers and the Strassers, heard it, and captivated by Silent Night, both groups added the song to their Christmas repertoire. Silent Night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright, brown young virgin, mother and child, holy infant, so tender and mild, sleep, sleep in heavenly peace. The Strasser sisters spread the carol across northern Europe. In 1834, they performed it for King Frederick. King Frederick, William IV of Prussia, and he ordered his cathedral choir to sing it Christmas Eve. 20 years after Silent Night was written, the Rainiers brought the song to the United States, singing it in German at the Alexander Hamilton Monument in New York City's Trinity Church. In 1863, almost 50 years after the first song, it was translated in English. And 8 years later, the English version made its way into print in the Sunday school hymnal. Today, the words of Silent Night are sung in more than 300 different languages, all around the world. By the time the song had become famous throughout Europe, its writer had died, and its composer actually was unknown. Although Franz Gruber wrote the music, authorities in Berlin stating that he was the composer, the melody had been assumed to be the work of Haydn or Mozart or Beethoven, and at various times these thoughts persisted even into the 20th century. The controversy was only put to rest in 1994. Stille Nacht. They found an arrangement, handwritten by Moore, and in the upper right-hand corner it said, arrangement by Father Xavier Gruber. Father Joseph Moore's final resting place is a tiny alpine ski resort. It's interesting that he was born into poverty in Salzburg in 1792, and he died penniless in 1848. That's where he was assigned to be church pastor. He had died penniless because he had donated all his earnings to be used for elder care and the education of children in the area. His memorial from the townspeople is at Joseph Moore School, located just a few yards from his grave, actually. They say he was a remarkable friend of mankind, and toward the poor, a gentle, helping father. I shared this story because the song blesses so many of us. And as we contemplate peace, I pray that each may experience a silent night. We watch and we wait with so many. We walk beside people, literally and figuratively, who are watching for and hoping for a night. Just one night when there is no war, when there are no fights or hate crimes on our streets, when the world can be still and rest in a peace filled with silence, a peace filled with sacred silence. There was a night like that once. I'm sure some of you have heard this story as well. A Christmas miracle, if you will, a miracle of a silent night. It's been shared over and over again, the truth of 1914. It is said that on Christmas Eve, during World War I, the troops in their trenches were so close to one another they could hear each other talking. They could smell the aroma from each other's food. You see, now Pope Benedict XV, who took office in September, had originally called for a Christmas truce, an idea that was officially rejected. Yet it seems the sheer misery of the daily life in the cold, wet, dull trenches was enough to motivate troops to initiate their own truce. Which means that it's hard to pin down exactly how it happened. There's a range of different oral accounts and diary entries and letters home from those who took part, which makes it virtually impossible to speak of a typical Christmas truce, as it took place across the Western Front. To this day, historians continue to disagree over the specifics. No one knows where it began, or how it spread, or if by some curious festive magic it broke out simultaneously across the trenches. Nevertheless, some 2/3 of the troops, about 100,000 people, are believed to have participated in this legendary truce. Most accounts suggest that it began with a carol singing from the trenches, Christmas Eve. Quote, "A beautiful moonlit night, frost on the ground, white almost everywhere," Private Albert Warren of the 2nd Queen's Regiment recalled. The Germans would sing one of their carols, and then we would sing one of ours, until we started up, "O Come All Ye Faithful." The Germans immediately joined in singing this hymn in the Latin words, "Adeste Fidelis." And I thought, well, this is really the most extraordinary thing. Two nations both singing the same carol in the middle of a war. End quote. The stories go on saying some kicked a makeshift soccer ball around, others shared gifts of cigarettes and a drink. For some, the truce lasted only a few hours. For some, the fighting did not resume until after New Year's. It doesn't matter how long the Christmas truce lasted. What it says about human nature is amazing. Left to our own devices, with no interference from politically motivated ranking officers, peace found a way. Peace found a way in spite of all that was happening around them. Peace found a way in the midst of a battle to enter into the hearts of two armies. Though it was the hymn of "O Come All Ye Faithful," it could have just as easily been Silent Night, and I'm sure it was probably sung. The point is, on that night, in the midst of hatred and war, people experienced peace. The peace of Christmas that we dream of, that we preach of, that we are seeking all the time. And so I pray that we may put this year behind us. As a people, as a community, as a nation, we can start to watch for peace. You see, during Lenten season, when we watch for hope, we become the hope. When we watch for peace, we become the peace. When we watch for love, we become the love. And when we watch for joy, we can become that joy. If we engage in seeking it, we become the action of it. So if we choose to watch for peace, we will see peace. We will be peace. We will be a way for peace to manifest in our world. Christmas Eve and Christmas Day are when we celebrate God breaking into the world as a gentle, helpless baby. And as Isaiah 9:6 says, "For unto us a child is born. To us a son is given, and the government will be on his shoulders, and he will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, and Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace." May the Prince of Peace reign in our hearts and guide us to find a better way, that we may begin to bring peace to the world, that we may begin to bring peace to our communities. What does it mean to work for peace and to seek peace? It means doing small things, like collecting toys for Christmas, or feeding our neighbors at a community meal. It means finding ways to help us better serve each other through organizations that we partner with. Perhaps we want to look at a mission trip, or partner with another congregation or two to make a mission trip even more feasible. Maybe it means working with the recreation department to celebrate our senior citizens and the work many do for our community. Perhaps it means finding better ways to eat responsibly and continue to get nutrition to those in need. We may find new ways of bringing peace through opportunities offered by the United Church of Christ, by attending annual gatherings, by participating in the Call to Serve Day, by becoming active in the larger church around us, in the larger church body. We can find other ways of being inspired, and we can be inspired by our own actions. I pray that we can watch for peace as a congregation as we continue to work to play and to dream of new possibilities. I pray we can watch for peace as we seek out better ways to work for a just world for all, and how that will continue to manifest for us as a congregation, as well as on the state and national levels. But more immediately, I pray we can watch for peace each day during this Lenten season. I pray we see the gift of peace in those around us as we share Christmas in our own way. And I pray that the peace we are watching for arises and stays in each one's hearts and carries us through the year to come, not just in this Christmas season. Amen.